Congratulations! The euro collapse is now inevitable because EU Queen Ursula von der Leyen is planning the next billion-dollar debt bomb. It's going to get really intense with what she just announced in a new speech. It's about taking on new debt to save democracy and continue arming Ukraine, basically sending supplies into the war zone. This whole thing is bad for savers, but on the flip side, it's good for Bitcoin. A devaluing euro, a devaluing dollar, a collapsing fiat money system is always good for hard currencies, for gold, Bitcoin, everything that cannot be manipulated by politics and some EU people. It is still unclear exactly how many billions in taxes and inflation costs this plan will include. But one thing is clear, prices will rise, inflation will rise, and anyone without Bitcoin is lost or not lost, but is in any case worse off. Now, let's take a look at the highly controversial speech by Ursula von der Leyen. Because one thing is clear in this plan. It revolves around 3 points. First, easing the budget to allow for stronger public financing. Second, the mobilization of common EU funds. And third, increased involvement of the European Inflation Bank. You can gather this from a report that I'll link for you below. Or in short, money printer go BRR. And here's another lie being served up, because it's once again talking about the mobilization of EU funds. So, they're talking about mobilizing common EU funds here. It's just like the special funds, which I made a video about yesterday with March and so on, which are now planning a special fund of 800 billion to, let's say, rearm Germany. And now it continues here in the EU. Here, funds are supposed to be mobilized, and they're not being straight with you. They're not saying, hey, we're just firing up the money printers, we're printing money here. Instead, they say, we're mobilizing EU funds, we're creating a special fund, we're doing something really, really great. It's not about debt. It's about mobilization, and it's about assets. And folks, they're lying to your face. You really need to pay attention here. You need to wake up now. You have to see through this. And I don't want to judge any of this either. It's not my job to judge whether it's justified to send money there or not. Feel free to drop that in the comments below. All this is about is that the money supply is being expanded. Money is being printed like never before. We're facing a potential shock coming our way, let's say a debt shock, a debt bomb shock that's about to hit us. So one bomb after another is dropping here. I mean, as a Bitcoiner, you can take it pretty chill, but if you're not invested in any tangible assets, not in gold, silver, Bitcoin stocks, or anything like that, then this could hit you really, really hard. And the craziest part is, this package is not announced as a one-time deal. It's already about maintaining extended financing, as Ursula von der Leyen clearly stated. And then you get things like loosening the budget, which means money printer go BRR, we're just racking up more debt. Stronger financing through mobilization also means money printer go BRR. And then there's increased involvement from the European Investment Bank. That, if you ask me, just means money printer go BRR. That means they're finding different ways to finance things through inflation. And the worst part is you can't even decide about it. This means that your purchasing power is simply ignored. You can't decide what happens to your purchasing power. And that's why people are getting into Bitcoin. Finally, you have some control over your purchasing power because no politician can inflate it away. Because many people now find that, for example, it's good that, for example, money is being sent to war zones here, but there are also many people who don't think that's a good thing. And the people who don't think that's a good idea, they're getting massively rug pulled here. And like I said, I don't want to judge whether it's okay to send money there and keep prolonging the wars. But it's also said that this is supposed to be about peace. So basically, they're sending weapons over there to achieve peace. That's how I understood it. But now let's take a look at the speech. There's also a really, really interesting contribution about this from various sources like Yahoo Finance, Reuters, and CNN. The clip that's coming up now is from CNN.
We urgently have to rearm Europe. And for that, I will present a comprehensive plan how to rearm Europe on the 6th of March, when we have our European Council to the leaders.
And this isn't going to be funded by savings, because there are hardly any savings left. It's not going to be generated by economic growth. It's going to be generated by the money printer, which means money printer go BRR, euro against zero, and Bitcoin to the moon. Everything that's scarce, everything that isn't being inflated away like Bitcoin is going to benefit from this. I mean, whether hyperinflation is coming, I don't think so just yet, but I do have some interesting takes on that, and we need to check it out soon regarding hyperinflation. Or come on, let's look at it now, because yesterday there was the announcement of the 800 billion package from the Union and SPD, the 800 billion for special assets that are supposed to come. And now Bitcoin Ambassador, who always has really hot and very accurate analyses in the Bitcoin space, is saying that he no longer rules out hyperinflation. You guys have to hear this. 2 years ago, that was unthinkable, or even 3 years ago. Jack Dorsey already said back in 2021, hyperinflation is going to change everything. It's happening. And then Atomic confirms it again, it's happening. Sure, just because some people are saying in X that hyperinflation can no longer be ruled out, it doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen. But what's going on here is really dramatic, and we definitely need to take it seriously.
We really have to step up massive the defense expenditure. And for that, we need a clear, big plan from the European Union for the member states and, of course, for common European domains. Like, for example, advanced air shields, we need a common European approach, but also the member states need more fiscal space to do a surge in defense.
Did you hear how she really emphasized the word massive? Like, she stressed it a lot. We don't just need a little bit of money. We need massive financial packages because she's already going into alarm mode. That's how it always goes. You go into full-on alarm mode, and only when you do that, for example. So the whole world is in ruins. We need to print money now, we need to do special financing, we need to mobilize special assets. That's always a trick, so don't let yourselves get too worked up when, for example, there's a lot of fear being spread through the media or something like that. Nuclear war is breaking out now, folks, the world is going to end soon. Or something like that, then the bad guy comes. Or something like that. That means that enemy images are always being created, and through these enemy images, one can then make people afraid and let everything happen. So, of course, sometimes it is justified to bring up certain fear factors and so on. I don't want to say that it is right or wrong in this case or anything like that. You can judge that for yourself. But you just have to know that this is also the way in which monetary financing has always been justified over centuries, let's say. People always say, sorry guys, we're in the worst situation ever if we don't print money, if we don't mobilize somehow or something like that. And in the past, people would at least say, okay, we're going to print money now. These days, we have some cool buzzwords like mobilization. Feel free to drop in the comments what you think the next words will be that they'll come up with. So special funds are pretty good. And mobilization isn't bad either. Something else will probably come up soon. But I can't think of anything right now. I don't know. I just can't think of anything. Drop me a comment if you think of something awesome. Look, ChatGPT gave me some really interesting suggestions here. So here we have the future investment framework, which sounds like planning smartly for tomorrow. Stability optimization loan, because stability can never be a bad thing. Resilience, who could possibly be against resilience? Sustainability loans, sustainability is in vogue, so why not apply it to debt as well? Dynamic capital, because stagnation is not an option. Transformation budget sounds like progress, not a deficit. Future security reserve, after all, you are securing the future. Flexibility compensation sounds like smart budget policy or growth driver financing, because who could be against growth? So that's how you have to imagine it. That's how the central bankers or the Euro people do it. They then ask ChatGPT, hey, let's say, suggestions on how to completely mislead people here. But it's got to sound like you can't argue against it. And then you get suggestions where you can't really say anything against them, because then they'll say afterwards, what, you're against the future. Or you're against resilience, or against dynamism, or against progress. And those are the words that are contained in the program. And then it's very difficult to argue against that, because otherwise all the leftists will say that he's not here for a better future, that he's not for progress, and that anyone who is against debt is against progress or something like that. That's the logic of the argument, just so you can understand it. But then they create fear, and through that fear, it becomes really easy for them to feed you these lies and sell you the idea that it's actually great that your money is being massively devalued. But the best part is coming up now. Now listen closely.
All have understood that after a long time of underinvestment, it is now of utmost importance to step up the defense investment for a prolonged period of time. It's for the security of the European Union.
So the last part here was really the most important one, where it then heats up. For a prolonged period of time, so over a long period of time, money is now being mobilized. Money is being loosened up, money is being printed, and so on. So this isn't just a one-time thing. That was also the deal with the special fund yesterday. It looks like it's a one-off situation, even though it probably won't stay that way with the special fund. But at least officially, it's been announced, okay, we're setting up a special fund, and that's pretty much it. So that's at least the official framing. From the very beginning, it's been made clear that it's not just about mobilizing money once, but about mobilizing money over a long period of time. And this won't just happen through inflation, like printing money, but it'll also come in the form of higher taxes. In the worst case scenario, it could even lead to something like a burden sharing scheme or something similar. So, I don't want to jump the gun or anything, but the current forecast in the EU looks really extremely grim at this point in time, at least for those who want to save, for everyone trying to build wealth, and especially for those still saving in fiat money, in the near future. That's why I always recommend to HODL Bitcoin. The HODL has made it, all the way to El Salvador. Super cool. I'm really excited that it's here now. By the way, if you want to buy one of those hodlers, you can get it now at the Bitcoin Hotel. Check it out down below on YouTube, it's really cool, there's even a block time on the back. Can you please find out what happened during the blogging period here? 849371. Find out what happened there. A really important event happened that day. On that day, the hodler was born, but it just made its way to El Salvador now, and you can definitely find it in the Bitcoin Hotel webshop. Just check it out down below on YouTube. Of course, that brings even more massive gains into your life. That has to be clear. I actually saw this in X2. Paul Brandenburg reported on it, and that's how I became aware of the whole thing in the speech. He shared it here, and he also has a very interesting assessment that I can read to you now. He says here, and he uses some really sharp words, he writes, "The EU Mafia Queen Ursula von der Leyen announces historic tax haste for Thursday, March 6, 2025. So, it's definitely phrased very sharply, but what it means is that Ursula von der Leyen is planning a massive tax heist for all the residents of the EU, which includes all the taxpayers in the EU. But it's not just the taxpayers, it's also the people who are saving. So, it's not just taxpayers, but also basically inflation theft. Now, as the US continues to write, it appears that after the US announced that it would stop all payments and arms deliveries to Ukraine, the EU will assume responsibility for the shortfalls in these corruption payments. Career criminal von der Leyen is announcing a comprehensive plan for the urgent rearmament of Europe over a long period of time at a summit on Thursday. So that's what I meant. By a prolonged period of time. The goal is to be able to continue the war in Ukraine indefinitely. She has not yet shared how many additional taxes and billions for inflation her plan will include. And we will just have to wait and see how things develop, and how much the whole thing will cost. On March 6th, we will know whether the absolute debt bomb will explode here. But she did say massive, so she specifically emphasized the word massive. And just from the way she spoke and from her gestures and facial expressions, you can tell that something really massive is coming our way. Let me know your opinion, whether you think it will trigger a massive wave of inflation, or do you think that's not a problem at all? We can print money endlessly. Feel free to let me know in the comments whether you think it's a good thing that politicians can decide about your purchasing power, or if you think that's not such a great idea. If you want to buy Bitcoin and are looking for a way out, money that can't be corrupted or inflated, I've got a link below to 21 Bitcoin, where you can easily, safely, and simply buy Bitcoin. And with the code BitcoinHotel, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. I'm signing off here with the hodler from El Salvador. Peace out.